Hi. Me, I'm really tired. I'm even exhausted to a point that I don't even know how I can be still alive.
This is their first gift sub.
Yep. So yeah, I'm really weak right now. I'm mentally. Yeah, it's more always mentally that I'm weak actually. Physically, I'm fine. You know, I can have a lot of energy. I can work non-stop. But like really, mental energy is like going down.
Still happy to be here with everybody. Lot of love, so love.
I also had yesterday 2 migraine retinal migraine. So I got actually one at the end of the day, which was around 10 or 11 p.m. and I got another migraine 6 hours later, which was when I went to bed at 7 a.m. So yeah, that's really great. Okay, so yep. I just wanted to put my controller on. All right, so everyone, what's up? Thank you, Dubois37 for the 2 months. Hi, thanks for appreciating my streams. Hapaluna, thank you very much for the tier 3 for 8 months. Genius Mage, thank you very much for the 8 months as well. God Save Punkrate, thank you very much for the 2 months. Pegaski, thank you very much for the sub gift. Simon Niante, thank you very much for the 3 months. Gleison Samus, thank you very much for the tier 2 for 8 months. Tabusi, hi, thank you very much for the 10 months. And Malvagan for the sub gift from yesterday, thank you very much. Yeah. So I might actually need, like, you know, your help for today, guys, because I think we are really close to the end of Hollow Knight, but I have no idea how to get all the different endings, and or even how to pick actually one. So I don't know if like each location in the game would, like, you know, bring me somewhere, or if I would need to actually, like, you know, get some items or more, I don't know, different things. Oh shit, I need to drink again. I've been eating way too fast. Oh, is the actual links? Thank you very much for the sub. So I don't know, like.
Hello, boss. I am glad you are enjoying Hollow Knight. It is an amazing game.
Thank you. 1-1 SIT 1.
Also, happy Women's Day.
Everyone is fucking annoying me to, like, I don't know, wish me a happy Women's Day. Fuck off! Fuck off! I don't fucking care. It's a day like any other. Leave me alone! Just because I have a goddamn pussy. Whee! Oh my god, why do we really need to make this so fucking special? We're in 2022, come on. We've moved on, everyone fucking moved on. I don't know, or maybe I just, you know, don't care. I just don't care. It's like, you know, my birthday. I actually don't fucking care about my birthday. And I fucking hate it when people wish it, but like, you know, I came to a conclusion that, you know, I have no way to fucking avoid it because it is what it is. Except for Christmas. I'm a very pessimistic person. like I actually got like plenty of people who just, you know, quoted my name in the post and wished me, like, you know, a happy Women's Day, and there were, like, you know, a bunch of other, like, you know, VTubers in that tweet. I'm like, I know, you know, it's like full of really good intention, but I'm like, leave me alone! Ah! So yeah. How is life treating you? I don't know. Sometimes, you know, when you receive so many fucking beats in your face, I don't really think that, you know, you are aware if life is still beating you or not. You cannot really tell the difference if you cannot feel your face. So, I think maybe I'm at a point where I don't feel like, you know, the pain, even though it's still here. Yeah. But whatever. I guess I have nothing else to talk about. Maybe in the upcoming streams I will be able to use my, you know, other model just for fun. I just want to try it for fun. And we'll be like, you know, starting the prints actually for the Dashin as well. I'm trying to look for a company that, you know, might take care of you know, shipping everything for me, because if I start doing this on my own I might just, you know, simply die. The fuck are you talking about, WMS design? The yes is quiet, yes, because it always talk over my fucking voice when I'm trying to have a conversation with you guys. So you just, you know, wait for me to start the game to actually boost this volume, okay? Beside this, really nothing else. What do you mean, Soma? Oh no, I already forgot about Soma. It's not Soma who makes me like, you know, like this. I was already like this before. But Soma was really good. I wish there's more like, you know, original games such as this one with such a good concept art and environment. It would be cool. Devon, if you want to just get the first ending on the true I would like to have the true ending, the real one. But I don't want you to spoil me without, like, you know. I mean, I don't want you to tell me like too much about it. Just, you know, where to go and that's it. Don't tell me anything else. Just tell me where to go. Okay. Let me check. Or we just, you know, get what we get when we're reaching the end. All endings are true? Oh. Oh! This is how the true ending works then, right? So, oh, it's like Undertale. You have like just a normal ending, and then only you can go for the Pacific ending. And the Pacific ending, well, it's not really the true ending, but I think it is a true ending. Okay. So, okay, that makes sense. I might see what you're talking about here. 12 Kazaki, hi, thank you very much for the 6 months. Hi, Bite Me Universe, thank you very much for the 25 months. And Kirinin Kitsu, thank you so much for the 5-sub gift. Hi. Okay, so let me just, okay, as usual, you know me, I need to fucking clean my glasses before we actually start the stream. Yeesh. Anyway, how was your Monday? Another trick is a good, you know, idea to talk about, like, me doing the sequel. If it's not even released yet, okay? Don't tell me, will you play at this game that haven't even been announced yet, okay? You just got rumors. You need to wait and be patient. For now, I have other game I really want to accomplish right now. Fuck off with your Happy Women's Day! Oh my god! Okay. Ah, that's good. Yeah. All right, let's just switch to the game right away. I'm fucking bored. Where is it? Oh yeah, be right back. I just need to grab my controller first. So please wait a minute.
Sarah Chia.
Hello, Linky Lane. Thank you very much for the 3 months. Hi, hi. Okay. Oh, that's the wrong screen. Hey. I meant to click here. Here I am.
Sell my money.
I also forgot something else. Let me just go back in. Be right back. I forgot something. I just want to put like the light ambient, so it's like a much more comfy vibe. Sorry about this. Here we go. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay. Moving this away. Here, here. Let's go. So we got like the 3 guys, the 3 dreamers now.
Scared of Bug Game DLC cat.
Why the fuck my blanket is annoying me? Okay, so the BGM is still on. Why is that? I did like fucking turned it off. I need to reset my entire OBS. But I said I'll do it like once I will like start moving. No, wait. No, yes, it is where I want to go. Wait. Why is everything infested now? What the fuck is happening here? Guys! What's happening? I don't remember this entire place to be infested. Why is everything orange? Oh. What's this? What? Rest? Okay, yeah. Why not? Vessel, though bound, you should know the state of the world. Aloneness will be alone, will be whole again. Is it all? Completion percentage. Wait, what? Completion percentage. What does that mean? Huh? Who's this? Wow! He's alive! He's looking at me! Go to your inventory and see the completion. Where is the completion? In which category? Oh, inventory? But where? What? Oh. It's okay, it's behind me, you cannot see it. It's 62%. I shouldn't be here, right? I should leave and, like, Wait, what? Oh fuck, I shouldn't have done that, it's still safe, fuck me. Okay, bye. Ayo! Okay, where do we go now? What else do we have to complete?
Coward.
It's not about being a coward. It's about like wanting to have like the true ending. So I want to finish first. Wait, I have to do it? Okay. Let's go. Wait, how do I break the chains? Huh? Oh, like this, here. Whoa! Whoa! Wait! Wait! No! Ah! Wait, I don't know, I feel like this way of fighting is so similar to someone else. What am I supposed to do, man? Ah, I want to fucking get my health back. I don't have time. Ah, shit. Aye. Shit, too late now. Whatever. Fuck off with your Happy Woman's Day! Stupid guy trying to be a gentleman. You look like a fucking loser. No, I just want to fucking eat, bro! Putain! No! I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die! Oh, ah! Oh, guys. Guys. It's hard. What the fuck? I'm so bad. I'm so bad. I'm so bad. Whoa! 2 parry in a row. had heal! What the fuck? Oh my god. It's going to be so hard now. And you're going to tell me it's the last boss? Fuck me. We should have done that, you know, during my other stream. Well, that's fine. You know what? If I really don't want to play Hollow Knight anymore, we can jump, you know, on Cuphead right away.
Don't worry, boss. As long as we call you boss, every boss you face shall fall. Let's go. You got this, boss.
Shut the fuck up! Oh, wait, what? What? Why is he doing this? Wait, whoa! Why is backstabbing himself? Whoa. I'm dead. Almost. Ah! Shit! Memes, thank you very much for the sub. And Past Panther, thank you very much too as well. Oh, thank you very much for the sub. Tesseret, Link Align, thank you very much. Oh, fuck off. Fuck me! Putain!
That orange juice looks tasty.
Putain! Man, I even wonder if I will be able to finish this game now. Putain! No!
I'm determination.
Why is it so freaking complicated?
Sour chia. So how's your Hollow Knight experience been so far? Lovely content, keep up the good work.
Thank you, Cloverfield, for the sub. Smuggle, Team Kitty, thank you very much. Also for the sub, thank you very much. Fucking asshole! I'm just going to remove Grim. He's just fucking useless because he's attacking him when I don't want him to, when it's time for me to heal, so I'm just going to remove his asshole. And instead, what do I take, huh? Okay, tell me what do I take while I just, you know, up. Do something here, up. Oh, fuck. Yeah, and voila. Quick heal. Oh, quick heal is actually a good idea. I think we might go on this then. Thorn and Shaman Stone. Okay, let me check again. The Shaman Stone is this one. Increase the power of the spells. Yeah, we can, but we don't have any more notches, so well, too bad. Okay, let's try it again. Maybe this time it will be good. Oh shit! Oh! 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 No! No! I was almost there! Okay. Fucking chair! I hate this chair! Fucking... I want to turn properly on it, and it doesn't allow me to. Because, like... It's like I'm I have a blanket, you know, on top of my chair, and so my blanket is getting like, you know, mixed with the wheels of my chair. Yeah.
Feels good.
Okay, good. I'm going to get him! Oh fuck! Ah!
Hey Saru, love your art and your stream forever.
Thank you, Dragon.
Hashtag believe in the boss.
Oh shit! Oh shit! No! Oh my god, he keep jumping when I jump! It's bad! Oh man.
You got this.
Shit. Putain! Oh shit, it's not what I wanted to do! I wanted to eat up! I'm so dead, I'm so dead, I'm so dead, I'm so dead. Huh? Man!
Nigh and pussy.
No! No! No, I was almost at the end. Oh, no.
Safe when he's in stabbing animation.
I know already. Don't you see already that I'm eating when he's in stabbing like area? Oh my god. Putain de merde! No! Fuck! Okay. Let's try again.
Pathfind 69 gifted a tier 1 sub to Putan 666. They have given 1,335 gift subs in the channel.
Putain de merde, fais chier!
Go Sarah, you can do it. Tech_Megas gifted a tier 1 sub to Bussy Gang 69. They have given 124 gift subs in the channel.
Thank you very much for the sub gift. Unshaped Lion, thank you very much for the 2-month pass. Thank you very much for the sub gift. Thank you very much, guys. Man! Oh! What's happening? Oh. Oh, I got goosebumps. Holy shit.
Chat, this is a spike run any percent. No shade or charms needed.
Wait, what? I'm being sealed inside now? This is the ending? Oh, so he was the Hollow Knight and I took his place? Ah! Okay, can I actually, like, you know, it's a natural ending?
This is one of many endings.
Okay. God fucking damn, guys.
You are the new Hollow Knight.
Thank
The
you,
cycle
Adi, for the
will
10 sub
continue.
gift. Actually, I don't know, like,
Now
if I want to
time
do,
for
like, you
DLC
know, all the
bosses,
different
which are
endings.
100 times harder.
Can you tell me, like, you know, maybe, like, is it, like, how long will it take to get, like, one of the multiple endings? I mean, when can I get the next ending? It's what I mean. I don't want to, like, spend hours to just, you know, get all of them. So I'd rather just, you know, watch them maybe on YouTube, huh? Oh, the last one is very long? Yeah, so I think I'm just, you know, going to watch the videos on YouTube. Okay, so you don't mind if I just, you know, watch a video about, like, the ending and, you know, everything explained about, like, you know, the lore of Hollow Knight? Because for me it was actually freaking, like, you know, complicated to understand all of it. Yeah, we'll watch the videos together. You don't mind? Thank you, Puff, for the 10 sub gift. Hi. Yeah, but I, like, how long it will take, how many more hours it will take me to finish, you know, get the other ending.
Congrats on beating Hollow Knight. It's one of my favorite games and I enjoy seeing more people play it. Many hours to finish. Worth it for boss fights, but maybe not right now.
Maybe just 3. So you think in 3 or 4 hours I can finish it? And get the last ending? Because I'd like to jump, you know, on other games, you know, this week. I don't want to do, like, you know, more streams of Hollow Knight, so that's why.
That all depends on you. There is an extra area, plus extra bosses and a last battle.
What do you mean by no? What do you mean no? No, I'm not going to finish the stream today. So why is there like a few like stupidos that says 3 to 4 hours? Oh yeah, no, I'm not going. Like I told you, I do like minimum 4 hours streams and 4 hours of streams, and I just, you know, nah. I can't do more. I have other stuff, like, you know, planned for this week, guys. Yeah, I'm going to watch the videos on YouTube, of course. Oh, there's a new mod unlocked. Okay, well, who knows? Maybe I'd like to try it again in the future Sabaton. Oh, even the starting screen now is different. That's cool. Okay, anyway. Wait, let me just, you know, switch. Okay, just be right back, okay? Just 1 sec. Alright. Let me... Wait, which video you recommend me to do? Huh? Which one should we watch? Can you maybe recommend me something? Okay, wait. Like, should we watch the different endings first and then watch the lore, I guess? Yeah, Hollow Knight, all endings. We're going to do this. Okay, most bag. Okay, so first we're going to watch all the endings. Then I want to watch a video about the lore of Hollow Knight. Okay. Okay, or you want me to go... Wait. Or maybe you want me to just, you know, put most back. It's fine if you don't want me to watch first, like, all the different endings. I'm trying to find, like, one that have all the endings. Oh, here. I got it. One second. I just need to set this properly now. Okay, so my god, it's a mess. Ah, I got it. Here we go. Let's watch it.
Esket it.
Okay, I'm going to put myself over here. Oh, it's loud! This is all the endings now. So that's the one we got. What does that mean? Is she dead? What? She becomes a dreamer? It's the worst ending? Oh, it's her head that is in front now. Thank you, iBeta7 for the 2 months. Oh, is it true, Hen? She's alive! But we die. I mean, you told me to watch the different endings, so... And I asked you if you, like, you know, there's anything you want me to actually, like, you know, put first. You just told me to put the endings. That's the endings. Yeah, I can see, like, you know, maybe now, like, you know, everyone is, like, at peace, I think. Oh, that's the DLC. Okay, I'm not going to watch this. I thought, like, they said just endings. And so, you told me to watch Wu now? So there's only 4 endings for the main story. The rest is, like, just DLC. Mosback, thank you very much. Thank you. This? Let's explore Hollow Knight Iceberg, or... Wait. Why is it, like, is a full story? Wait, why does it... I don't know why everything is fucking translated in French. I fucking hate this when YouTube do that.
If you were to ask me,
mods, can we put, like, you know,
favorite
us in the just chatting category, please, and change the title as well? Thank you.
video game ever made, I would have to say Cory in the House for the Nintendo DS. But Hollow Knight would be a close second. Hollow Knight was released on February 24th, 2017.
Wait, the subtitles? Oh, they are good.
By Team Cherry, an indie game studio based in the mythical land of Adelaide, South Australia. Over the past 3 years, Hollow Knight has become an indie darling.
Everyone,
The game has sold over 3.5 million copies. It was the opening game at ADGQ 2019. There's a Hollow Knight book, a line of plushies, t-shirts, nicotine patches, nuclear warheads, and even vinyl records for all you goddamn hipsters. Team Cherry had one goal when making Hollow
Thanks,
Knight.
Darius.
They wanted to create a world that allowed players to get completely lost in exploration. We can see this desire in Hollow Knight's design. The levels in Hollow Knight are massive, with secrets and rewards hidden in every nook and cranny, be that powerful charms, special abilities, or, The game's navigation system requires the player to work for their map, forcing them to make a stronger mental image of the world in their head. Christopher Larkin's score and Ari Gibson's artwork lend to this as well, creating an atmosphere that the player won't want to leave. But there's one aspect of Hollow Knight that keeps people like me coming back: the world building.
Yep.
When Super Metroid launched in 1994, it stood out for its amazing sense of immersion. Now in 1994, I was busy not being alive, but I've watched enough YouTube video essays to know that this game was a big deal. In case you didn't know, Super Metroid is basically the granddaddy of all Metroidvanias. That's why they're called Metroidvanias. Now in Super Metroid, there are moments that give the player a sense of depth. Basically the feeling that this world exists outside of Samus's interactions with it. In the room right before that diabetic crocodile thing, Samus can find the corpse of a random soldier. His inclusion here doesn't change the gameplay at all, but instead gives the player a sense of wonder about the world they are exploring.
Oh, that's
Who was
good.
this
They,
guy?
you know, actually
Why
started
was he
to
here
do
in the first
inside
place?
that, you know.
Did he like
in
jazz?
such old games.
Now, finding dead bodies and other random garbage is pretty cool, right? Well, Hollow Knight basically does the same thing, about a dozen times.
Yeah.
Through its world building, Hollow Knight turns Hallownest into a living kingdom. You can sense the ancient history of the land when you look at dilapidated structures or giant barred
It's what I really
doors.
love about this.
Nothing
Like the
feels
map
like it was
design
put
is
into
beautiful.
the game randomly. There's a reason for it all. Except those reasons aren't the easiest to uncover. Hollow Knight's narrative is buried under layers of NPC dialogue, item descriptions, lore tablets, and even additional content like the Quarrel comic and Fangamer's Wanderer's Journal. These past 3 years have seen an insane amount of research by the Hollow Knight community to make sense of Team Cherry's sprawling world.
Wow.
We've even made it to the point where people are looking at the in-game signs to try and decipher Hallownest's logographic language. In this video, I hope to give you a long and detailed look into the world of Hollow Knight, exploring Hallownest's history and uncertain future. When I'm not busy making surprisingly accurate Super Smash Bros. Roster speculation videos, or insightful podcasts about beloved subjects like the Donkey Kong Country television series, or whatever this was supposed to be, I'm usually making videos about Hollow Knight. And while I am a seasoned Hollow Knight lore expert, I cannot confirm that every musing or theory presented in this video is completely correct.
Of course.
I highly recommend checking out the lore section of the Hollow Knight wiki if you want a more neutral explanation of Hollow Knight's lore. But if you're too lazy to read, then I suggest you sit back, order some Domino's pizza, or just grab a block of
We
cheese
don't have
from the
Domino's
fridge
pizza in
and
France.
enjoy the mostly
Is it
complete
good?
lore of Hollow Knight. It's a simple fact of life that every human worships a god, be that technology, ideologies, or in rare cases, God. As it turns out, the bugs in Hallownest pretty much operate in the same way. From the mosskin born from the dream of a giant slug, To the emo kids of the ancient civilization who literally worship the darkness, there is no shortage of things to worship in the world of Hollow Knight. Our story begins with a creature very much worthy of worship, a creature born from the carcass of a worm. The carcass can still be found in the Kingdom's Edge, and it's our only good look at what worms actually...
What is a worm? I need translation. Help translation here. Man, I want to get drunk now. Man, I need to order alcohol before it's too late. Should I or should I not? Should I or should I not? No, I should not. Should not drink. I have to work after. Massive mythical worm. Okay.
Looked like. At the time Hollow Knight occurs, it is suggested there are no worms left in the world. They were incredibly long creatures that featured little to no limbs. Another more mysterious property of worms was that they had some kind of prescience or foresight. Basically, they could see the future to some capacity. It isn't clear how effective this ability was. Considering how the entire race went extinct, this foresight ability must have been pretty shit. Getting back to this particular worm carcass, it is explained that this worm traveled across the distant mountains and wastelands beyond Hallownest. Once it arrived in Hallownest, the worm died. Except not really. Inside the maw of the carcass sits a pale broken egg, out of which hatched a new form of worm, a being of meager shell. This form of the worm is usually referred to as the Pale King, and he's the character basically responsible for everything that happens in Hollow Knight. The Pale King is a higher being, a type of creature that exists above all others. His body was said to shine with a radiant visage that harmed those who looked upon him. The ultimate goal of the Pale King seemed to be in line with that of other worms. A line from the cryptic Mr. Mushroom reads, "Worms pull bugs into their thrall, till ages pass and kingdoms fall." In other words, it's just in their nature. Dogs wag their tails, cats bury their shit, and worms bring massive amounts of bugs into their service in order to form long-standing kingdoms and civilizations. And here in a far corner of the world, the Pale King emerged from the corpse of his former self and began to build his eternal kingdom, Hallownest. There's just one slight problem. There's like people already living there. The area that would eventually become Hallownest was already filled with mantises, bees, moths, spiders, mushrooms, and bush cosplayers. Each of these groups were already operating with their own cultures and societies, and each group had a different interaction with the Pale King. One of the more receptive groups to the arrival of the Pale King were the mushrooms of the Fungal Wastes. These creatures were able to communicate with one another through one shared mind. The mushrooms viewed this shared mind as a strength, and they were kind of smug dickheads about it. Ultimately, the mushrooms wearily accepted the Pale King's rule, viewing his foresight as a shield to the dangers of the future. Another group living in the Fungal Wastes is the Mantis tribe. The Mantises have a rich cultural history reaching back to long before the birth of Hallownest. The Mantises are a proud tribe, believing in the importance of proving one's physical strength.
I really love the Mantis
fiercely
fight.
territorial, but will show respect to those who display great power. These Fight Club enthusiasts were led by 4 powerful Mantis Lords, who I guess just kind of sat around waiting for outsiders to challenge them. The Mantis tribe had no interest in the Pale King's kingdom, but the two communities did come to a truce. In exchange for their independence from Hallownest, the Mantis tribe kept the beasts of Deepnest from invading Hallownest. Not sure why they didn't just go out the other exits from Deepnest, but whatever. I'm not an expert on border patrol. I don't work at ICE anymore. Let's move on to Deepnest. Now, many of the different tribes of Hallownest were kind enough to leave lore tablets behind, detailing pretty much everything we need to know about them. Unfortunately, the bugs of Deepnest didn't do that. We know that the spiders of Deepnest had a monarchy because, why not? Those are always good, right? Also, within Deepnest are a separate group of spiders that immigrated to Deepnest at some point in the past. This group was known as the Weavers, and they established their own culture and history within Deepnest.
Makes sense
They
because
used
they're
looms
spiders.
of silk to weave stories, spells, and shields. One thing we know for sure about Deepnest is that they really didn't want anything to do with Hallownest. The struggles of Deepnest-Hallownest relations would become painfully clear as time goes on, but for right now, it seems like the two remained fairly isolated from one another. Another section of pre-Hallownest includes Greenpath. Now, as far as we can tell, the mushrooms, mantises, and spiders of Deepnest didn't worship any higher beings. There is this giant mushroom corpse in the fungal core, but I don't think this is a higher
That's a
being.
corpse? It looks like he's
Who the hell
smiling.
would want to worship a fat-ass mushroom? Fat-ass slugs? Now that's dope. The land we know as Greenpath was created by the higher being known as Un. Un used her great mind to dream the vegetation of Greenpath into the once barren caverns. Un's followers, the Mosskin, were also born out of Un's dream, making her their creator. Greenpath at its height was actually much larger than we see in-game. At one point, Greenpath stretched into both modern-day Queen's Garden and possibly Fog Canyon. Greenpath's citizens showed themselves to be a fairly developed society. They built a temple at the Lake of Un in order to worship her, and they even had their own line of defense, with Moss Knights showing proficiency in combat, using nails and shells as weapons. The Law of Un continued to remain in effect even after the Pale King arrived, but it seems like they allowed the king to establish a road through their lands, leading travelers to the heart of Hallownest. Hence the name Greenpath. Yeah, Team Cherry really racked their brains when naming this area, didn't they? Next, we have the bees. And while there is no lore on how these bees can turn into fucking drills, or how they can ignore all known laws of aviation, we do know how they reacted to the Pale King. These bugs decided to seal their hive off from the rest of the world, with only patrol bees being able to enter and exit the hive. So yeah, the bees are pretty much pointless in this story. And finally we have the Moth Tribe. In-game, the only moth settlement is in the Resting Grounds, but the tribe might have also inhabited the Crystal Peak at one point. Now, as we all know, moths in real life are just complete assholes. As for the moths in Hollow Knight, well, it's a bit complicated. The moth race is described as being a rather pacifist group, with few ever choosing to take up a weapon. During the Pale King's reign, the moth race delved amongst dreams and the dead, displaying the importance of remembering those who have passed, as well as learning how to shape dreams themselves. Similar to the Mothkin, the Moth Tribe was born from a higher being known as the Radiance. The Radiance is described as being a light in which the Moth Tribe basked, so she was basically a giant lamp to them. Another important aspect about the Radiance is her ties to dreams and a substance known as Essence. Essence are the remains of wishes and dreams, and are represented in-game by these Dreamcatcher particle effects.
Oh.
Essence can take the form of whispering roots, as well as dream ghosts, both of which are memories taking root in the world. The Radiance appears to be a creature made of essence, but she isn't the only higher being to give off essence. Un has green particles, the Pale King has gray particles, and this sexy character named Grim gives off fiery red particles.
Oh, yeah, so give particles.
However, the Radiance appears to be the main god when it comes to dreams, even if other gods also dabble in the dream realm. Getting back to the Moth Tribe, it is their interaction with the Pale King that we need to discuss. Basically, the moths turned their backs on the Radiance completely, in order to worship the new light that had appeared, the Pale King's light. So yeah, moths are assholes in this game too. With her tribe forsaking her, the Radiance became a forgotten memory, a remnant of the past, and a thing that's definitely not going to come up again later in this video. And so the Pale King's new kingdom was established, Hallownest. But there is one aspect of Hallownest that we need to discuss. Unfortunately, to better understand this, we're going to have to read some poetry. In Wilds Beyond they speak your name with reverence and regret. For none could tame our savage souls, yet you the challenge met. Under palest watch you taught, we changed. Base instincts were redeemed. A world you gave to bug and beast as they had never dreamed. This is from a poem titled Elegy for Hallownest.
Why are you saying what's our asshole? Is that cute?
The poem appears at the beginning of every playthrough, and hints at what the Pale King and his
outside
kingdom
of,
offer.
you know, the game.
Much of the land outside of Hallownest appears to be a wasteland, where bugs survive off of instinct, without the burden of mind. Hallownest somehow taught these bugs and tamed their savagery. Basically, the Pale King changed the instincts of his subjects and granted them higher thought. To get a better picture of this, let's look at two different characters, Boon and Tuck. These adorable panda bug things give us a clear display of Hallownest's effect. While both appear to be the same species of bug, Boon is dumb as a sack of rocks, struggling to string together words, while Tuck speaks fairly clearly. The main difference between these two characters is that while Boon lives outside of Hallownest, Tuck lives beneath the city's capital. Basically, it appears as though Hallownest is a literal holy ground that raises the intelligence of those who dwell within. The Pale King established a path, starting from the kingdom's entrance in King's Pass, winding through Greenpath and the Fungal Wastes, and finally ending at the massive capital at Hallownest's heart. We now know the capital city as the City of Tears, but that was likely not its original name. The rain that falls down onto the city from the blue lake above didn't begin until after the kingdom collapsed. So unless the capital was originally named by some edgy literature student, the name City of Tears wouldn't have made much sense. The king's motivation for all this appears to have been his desire to be worshipped. The citizens of Hallownest believe that the Pale King created the world, and everything in it. Shrines to the king can be found scattered throughout the kingdom, and king's idols were created and distributed to followers of the king. Despite the worship, the Pale King often kept himself hidden from his subjects, possibly to hide his blemishes. I mean, if you look at the size of the real Pale King to his statue in the ancient basin, the man is clearly overcompensating. The Pale King's White Palace was also built underneath the city, separating him from his subjects even more so. At the same time, certain powers became shunned in Hallownest, though we don't know for sure if the Pale King had anything to do with this. Lifeblood is a blue liquidy substance that leaves those who drink it feeling refreshed. However, the use of lifeblood was seen as a taboo, and those who used it were demonized as heretics. The use of soul for combat was also shunned. Soul is a sort of life force in Hollow Knight that animates the bodies of living creatures. But some characters are able to control the soul of others to conjure powerful spirits. But aside from a few exceptions, no citizens of Hallownest ever used this power. However, the Pale King didn't rule alone. There was another higher being in the mix, a being known as the White Lady. The White Lady is a weird brute-like being that can be found in the modern-day Queen's Gardens. She is encased in a strange cocoon, and we know very little about her. With as much exposition we get for the Pale King, there is next to nothing on the White Lady. But
Thanks,
one
Puff.
thing we do know is that she likes to breed.
Pathfind69 gifted
like
a tier
a
1
lot.
sub to
Ooh.
120.
She likes
They
to
have given
bleed.
An area of land once controlled by the
1,346
Moss
gift
Kid.
subs in the channel.
How exactly she walked around and actually went places is a lore question too deep for even my expertise. The White Lady is also known as a pale being, along with the Pale King. What exactly are pale beings? Well, we don't know for sure, but they seem to stand out even amongst higher beings, as being even more powerful. I know that's a little confusing, so let's try using an example. I'd say that regular higher beings are like a TP-Link Archer C7 AC1750 wireless dual-band gigabit router, while pale beings are like the Asus RT-AX88U AX6000 dual-band 8X gigabit Wi-Fi router. Under the Pale King, Hallownest underwent a bit of an industrial revolution. He ordered the construction of the stagways, which were used to transport passengers and goods. The Forgotten Crossroads and the storerooms above the City of Tears were used to store goods that traveled along these stagways. The king also ordered the construction of the tramways, because literally no one is safe from the threat of automation. A tram was built between the Forgotten Crossroads and the resting grounds. A second tram was built from the kingdom's edge across the ancient basin over to Deep Nest. And then a third tram was started in Deep Nest and attempted to go further into Deep Nest. Not sure how useful that would have been to the bugs of Hallownest, but whatever. The Pale King's a smart guy, I'm not gonna question him. But anyway, the Pale King's super smart plan to build a tram in Deep Nest ended up getting a few of his tram workers killed. The bugs of Deep Nest rejected the Pale King's attempt to build a tram in their territory, further cementing the poor relations shared between the two groups. Aside from convenient fast travel, regular pathways were also used to cart goods around the kingdom. From this was born probably one of the most important groups in Hallownest, and perhaps even all of fiction. An elusive guild of bugs, simply known as the Menderbugs, took to maintaining the various signs scattered throughout Hallownest. From the journal entry of one Menderbug, we can catch a glimpse into their ancient and unknowable minds.
Dear, dear diary, isn't life just the most beautiful thing? Fixing signs, mending posts, let them break, I say. I'm a better mender for all that repairing. I sometimes doubt there's a single bug in all of Hallownest happier than me.
Another example of the Pale King's expanding infrastructure is the Crystal Peak. This area is filled with crystals that grow rapidly along walls, ceilings, and even the shells of certain bugs. These crystals were considered valuable to the bugs of Hallownest, resulting in large-scale mining efforts. We don't actually see the crystals used anywhere else in Hallownest, but they are said to contain a sort of energy. The crystals are also said to sing, if you listen very carefully.
Ah!
In terms of military, Hallownest's first line of defense appeared to be a group simply known as the Five Great Knights. The members of this esteemed coalition were Ogrim, Hagamol, Zamir, Drya, and Isma. For being so important, most of the information about these knights has been lost to time. Ogrim is the knight we know the most about, since he is one of the few knights still alive during the events of the game. Ogrim expressed a great amount of loyalty towards the king, and he maybe had something going on with Isma, but we really don't know. Hagamol was known for his sense of humor and his soft-spoken voice, but at the same time, he was also dummy thick. Mysterious Zamir arrived in Hallownest from a serene land, bringing with her a collection of delicate flowers. At some point, she also got into a relationship with a mantis, but not just any mantis, a daughter of one of the mantis lords. So yeah, it seems like these great knights were slaying in more ways than one. All we really know about Drya is that she was fierce, caring, and wise.
Wait, because I wish he would actually take the time to say where he got those information, That would have been nice, because I have no idea where he know that that person get laid or is interested in who and etc.
As for Isma, she was described as being kind. She also appears to be some sort of weird plant life form, but there's no information on where she's from or what her powers were.
Hollow Knight.
The Five Great Knights play an important role in the Champion's Call, the Knotted Grove, and the Battle of the Black Worm. We have no idea what these events were or how they affected Hallownest, but they sound cool nonetheless. During Hallownest's reign, there was another strange area that seemed to exist separate from the Pale King's rule. Carved out of the corpse of an ancient bug, an area called the Coliseum of Fools was constructed, and it was a destination for warriors from outside Hallownest. The sole purpose for fighting in the Colosseum appeared to be simply for glory, with a mysterious figure known as the Lord Fool overseeing the combat. We don't know when the Colosseum was constructed or if the Pale King was involved, but one of his servants, the Pale Lurker, became a champion in the Colosseum, perhaps indicating the Pale King's approval. And finally, there was the Royal Waterways, where the fecal excrement of the kingdom was washed out into the fungal wastes. This area saw the rise of a species of parasite-like creatures called the Flukes. The Flukes spawned from the Fluke Marm, a giant monster with cavities in which tinier Flukes live. There really isn't too much lore involved with the Flukes, but I do need to point out that the Fluke Marm is canonically a MILF. That's not even debatable.
Ooh, okay.
The sky is blue, 2 + 2 = 4, and we all want to fuck this thing.
No!
And so this was the kingdom of Hallownest at its height. Hallownest was a vast kingdom connected by a network of stagways and tram stations. The bugs of Hallownest mourned their dead on the resting grounds, engaged in commerce using Geo, the de facto currency of the region, and a thriving capital located in the middle of the kingdom. The Pale King had succeeded in crafting a full-blown society, but we all know there are pitfalls to living in a society. As a suspiciously knowledgeable hunter points out in his journal, the Pale King had created a population of weak and pathetic creatures. The bugs of Hallownest did not hunt for their own food, and had become complacent with their comfort. This is even more obvious with the east wing of the capital. These greedy members of Hallownest's high society became complete cowards, obsessed with riches and plumb from excess wealth. The bugs living in Hallownest Prime looked quite different than the instinctive simpletons they once were. Their savagery had been replaced with intelligence, and through that intellect, they gave the Pale King the devotion and service he desired. And while there were a few snags along the way, they were shining times for the king and his subjects. Resting at the threshold of Hallownest is a strange lore tablet, proclaiming Hallownest to be the last and only civilization. It calls Hallownest an eternal kingdom. This appears to have been the Pale King's goal, for Hallownest to stand against a wasted world as a final beacon for civilization. And that was the Pale King's ultimate folly, to think that he could succeed where so many others had failed before. Long before the Pale Kings or the Barry Bensons of the world, the land of Hallownest was controlled by an ancient caste. Hints of Hallownest history are littered throughout the land, with the most notable examples being the soul totems and arcane eggs. One sect of these ancient bugs didn't worship a god like the Pale King or any lord, but instead a dark and mysterious substance known as the Void.
Yeah, the Void.
This ancient caste once also tried to lay claim to the entire land of Hallownest, but they too failed. In his quest to conquer all of Hallownest, the Pale King had made an enemy long forgotten, an enemy that was about to be remembered. I mentioned earlier that the Moth tribe entirely forgot about the Radiance in order to worship the Pale King, but that isn't quite true. Memories of her still lingered, and hushed whispers of faith kept the Radiance alive. At the summit of the Crystal Peak, a location known as Hallownest Crown, a strange collection of glyphs can be found. Joining these glyphs is a statue of the Radiance, presiding over the kingdom below. This old summit is the sole standing shrine left to the Radiance. This was built in order to keep the memory of the Radiance alive. The Radiance's light began to appear in the dreams of Hallownest citizens. This light manifested itself in an infection that ravaged through the kingdom's tunnels. Those infected would fall into a deep sleep and awaken with broken minds. Some of the lesser bugs tried to resist the Radiance's light, which only resulted in them being consumed by it even more so. Many infected bugs lost their wills
this infection is because
and
of
began
the
attacking
Radiance.
bugs that weren't infected. The infection also twisted the bodies of its hosts, causing them to bloat and occasionally develop orange cysts on their bodies. For many victims, they were reverted back to their basic instincts, carrying out the duties they once fulfilled in life, but now as mindless slaves. Those caught up in the infection were linked into the Radiance's hive mind, allowing her to control their bodies if needed. As the infection spread across Hallownest, many groups looked to solutions to fight off the Radiance's light. The gates to the City of Tears were closed in an attempt to keep the infection from reaching the city. The stagways were also shut down at some point, and many of the stags eventually died out, but some took more proactive efforts against the infection. The scholars of the Soul Sanctum decided to harness the power of Soul in an attempt to fight the infection. This resulted in the deaths of hundreds of bugs, whose souls were sucked out and injected into the bodies of the scholars. Their goal was to achieve some kind of pure focus, which would somehow protect them from plagues of the mind. The scholars' leader, the Soul Master, was driven mad by the sheer power of Soul, and his entire sect failed to avoid infection. But hey, at least they took as many innocent people down with them as they could. The Mantis tribe, showing a stronger will than the common bug, were able to stave off the infection. However, one of the 4 Mantis lords turned against his sisters. He and his followers took in the infection willingly, as it gave them more strength and courage. At some point during all this, the Traitor Lord and his followers were exiled from the Mantis village, eventually taking up residence in the Queen's Gardens. The Traitor Lord's daughter ended up dying at some point. This is the same Mantis that was in a relationship with Zamir, one of the 5 Great Knights. But the Mantises rejected their union because of Zamir's outsideness. As a gamer, this type of prejudice is all too familiar, and honestly, it makes me sick. With the 5 Great Knights completely useless to fight against the infection, the Pale King devised his own scheme. A scheme involving a strange substance known as Void. As I mentioned earlier, the Pale King's White Palace was built in an area called the Ancient Basin. But his castle wasn't the only noteworthy thing down there. At the bottom of the ancient basin was the entrance to a pit, known as the Abyss. Within the Abyss was a lake composed of void. The Pale King realized that this void could be given form, as evidenced by an imprint of such, deep within the Abyss, possibly left there by the ancient civilization that predated Hallownest. The Pale King devised a workshop in his palace, where he placed void in armor shells imbued with soul, creating servants known as King's Molds and Wing Molds. These void creatures were somehow imprinted with the desire of the Pale King, so that they would serve him. It isn't clear when the Pale King started making these creatures. There is evidence to imply that even common bugs were aware of King's Molds, but the point is, the Pale King turned to the void in order to create another creature, one that he believed could contain the Radiance and her infection. He tried to create a pure vessel. The Radiance's infection needs its host to have a will and a mind in order to enslave it. A pure vessel would be a creature made of void designed to lack those features. The Pale King believed that by harnessing the void inside a pure vessel, he would be able to stop the infection and keep Hallownest lasting eternal. But his method for creating this so-called pure vessel was incredibly cruel. This is where the White Lady and her King Kong-sized libido come into play. These two higher beings engaged in a union of some kind, resulting in the creation of several eggs that were dropped down into the abyss.
What?
There, the void seeped into
Damn, that's a
these
lot of
eggs,
fucking babies!
corrupting the offspring of the Pale King and the White Lady. This act resulted in the creation of the vessels. The vessels are not technically considered to be alive. They are shells created from the Pale King and White Lady that
So
have been
wait, does that
filled
mean
with
they're
the
all my
void.
brothers and sisters?
Within each vessel is a shade, a completely void being hidden behind the face of the vessel. Vessels are also non-gendered, I guess because they're dead or something. I'm not sure if that's how that works, but whatever. I'm not an expert on these kinds of things. I don't work at ICE anymore. Thousands of vessels were created during this process, but only one was chosen as the pure vessel. This particular vessel, chosen by the Pale King, was deemed the Hollow Knight, and was taken away to the White Palace. But I want to take a bit of a closer look at this part of the story. There are a number of questions and theories surrounding this moment that I really want to dig into. The big question surrounding this moment is, why was the Hollow Knight chosen over any other vessel?
I understand.
One common theory is that the Pale King took
It
these
was the
vessels
guy I
back to the
fought.
White Palace and evaluated them using his giant collection of buzzsaws. This theory is probably the least likely explanation. It kinda exists just to explain the buzzsaws, which is quite the mystery, I'll admit, but doesn't really mesh with the vessels very well. How does being good at Super Meat Boy prove that you are a worthy vessel? And while thinking about logistics in a game about magic bugs is never a good idea, how exactly did the Pale King transfer these thousands of vessels to his palace without characters like the Dung Defender finding out? So this means that the Pale King probably made his decision without taking any of the vessels out of the abyss. So how did the Pale King make his evaluation? I think the best explanation comes from a theory I originally heard from a user named Golden Flower Fan. Basically, the vessels were hatched down at the bottom of the abyss, and the first one to make it to the top was chosen by the Pale King. In a memory of this event, we see vessels falling from above back down into the pit of the abyss. Perhaps these vessels weren't being cast down into the abyss, but fell while trying to escape out of it. The lore tablet outside the abyss appears to support this theory. It reads, "Our pure vessel has ascended. Beyond lies only the refuse and regret of its creation. We shall enter that place no longer." This tablet was likely written right after the Hollow Knight was chosen, considering that is when the entrance to the abyss was sealed off. The tablet proclaims that the pure vessel has ascended, or in other words, climbed out of the abyss. And while cut content should never be considered canon, I would just like to point out that an earlier version of this tablet, found in the game's code, was even more explicit about this. It read, "From below, our pure vessel has ascended." But how does making it to the top of the abyss first prove that the Hollow Knight is somehow a perfectly hollow vessel? Well, I think this whole concept might just be a misconception. What if the Hollow Knight wasn't any different from the other vessels? All the vessels were made in the exact same way after all. The idea that the Hollow Knight was somehow more hollow than the other vessels comes from the fact that there were so many vessels created in the first place. If they only needed one, then why create so goddamn many? I mean, this is like Octomom on steroids. Well, these are bugs we're talking about, so it would make sense that multiple offspring would come from one egg. And it might have been a precaution to produce multiple vessels in hopes that at least one would be able to successfully escape the abyss. Now another explanation could be that the Pale King just yeeted other vessels that made it to the top first, after determining that they weren't hollow, which would better explain why so many were created. Ultimately, the exact details aren't super important, but I do find it interesting how many different interpretations can be pulled from this part of the lore. After the Hollow Knight was chosen, the Pale King sealed the doorway to the abyss, leaving the discarded vessels to rot away in darkness. These actions were not taken lightly by the Pale King or the White Lady. Both participants expressed shame in what they did, but saw no other option to save the kingdom. But the vessels weren't the only poor saps sealed away in the abyss. There's also a lighthouse that was built on top of a naturally formed spire, its light shining down on an ocean of abyss below.
Yeah, to stop the monsters.
Inside was one of the Pale King's royal retainers, who was left in charge of keeping the lighthouse turned on. So this brave soul was willingly sealed in a dark and dangerous tomb for the rest of his life, just so he could not pull a lever. Well, at least he was living with purpose. With the abyss sealed and the Hollow Knight chosen, the Pale King's plan was beginning to come together. The Hollow Knight was raised and trained to prime form, causing it to grow several times its original size. We don't know exactly why this happened, but I guess the Hollow Knight is just a grower and not a shower. We know that the Hollow Knight was trained to use a nail, but why was this even necessary? One possible explanation is that the Hollow Knight needed to protect itself in case an intruder tried to kill it. You know, like the player. Or perhaps this was important in the process of containing the Radiance. Unfortunately, the details of that are never fully explained. The Hollow Knight might have somehow focused the Radiance inside itself, but Team Cherry gives us no explanation of how that might have worked. But that still wasn't enough for the Pale King. Additional seals were needed in order to protect the Hollow Knight's physical body while the Radiance was trapped inside of it. To achieve this, the Pale King sought the help of 3 particular bugs, who would later be known as the Dreamers: Lurien the Watcher, Motomon the Teacher, and Hera the Beast. Lurien is definitely the most mysterious of the 3 Dreamers. He lived in the Watcher's Spire in the City of Tears. From there, Lurien watched over the city with his telescope. Lurien was a pretty big fan of the king, so it probably took little convincing for him to lie down for him. Lurien might also be tied to another strange incident that occurred in the City of Tears. Hidden on some of Lurien's lore tablets are images of jars, the same jars that can be found stockpiled in the Tower of Love. This building sits on the outskirts of the city, and is the setting of one of the most bizarre bosses in the game, the Collector. The Collector is a void construct that appears to have been made from the same mold used to create the King's molds. But the Collector is unique because, well,
Good grief, he's naked!
The Collector stayed in the Tower of Love with a noble bug who likely owned the establishment. In the tower, a number of bugs can be found captured in jars, implying that these two were tasked with collecting these creatures. However, the Collector somehow became obsessed with grubs, creating a map to keep track of grubs it captured in jars, as well as keeping a strange shrine displaying a grub in the style of the Vitruvian Man. Eventually, the bug staying with the Collector decided to lock it inside the Tower of Love, and fled to the Queen's Gardens, where it died, likely due to overexposure to the void. Despite being locked up in the tower, the Collector is still spotted by the Hunter at some point, which either means this only happened recently, or the Hunter has been farting around in Hallownest for a long-ass time. We have no idea what these creatures were trying to do. It's implied that the Collector was trying to preserve the creatures of Hallownest, perhaps trying to protect them from the spread of the infection, but we don't know where the Collector's obsession with grubs originated. And while Lurien does seem connected to all of this, we don't know how involved he was with this operation, or what its end goal exactly was. Motomon the Teacher lived in the Teacher's Archives, a library built atop a lake of acid in the Fog Canyon. The lower half of her body consists of tentacles, making her a popular subject for the thriving Hollow Knight R34 community.
Oh no!
The Archives, and the Fog Canyon as a whole, are also filled with these strange Metroid knockoffs. These creatures are likely related to Motomon in some way. They could be her live offspring, her test tube babies, or possibly even her shit. Motomon uses futuristic cathode ray tube things to store information about Hallownest. Several terminals in the Teacher's Archive go into detail about the Pale King's plan to defeat the Radiance, indicating that Motomon had intimate knowledge of what she was taking part in. Finally, the Pale King sought the help of Hera the Beast, the Queen of Deepnest. Now, as I mentioned earlier, relations between Hallownest and Deepnest were kinda not great. Unlike the other 2 Dreamers, Hera needed to be convinced in order to help the Pale King. Hera would eventually agree to become a Dreamer, in exchange for a child. The Pale King agreed, and the two engaged in a dalliance, which is a fancy way of saying they totally boned.
Oh shit!
The White Lady was okay with this arrangement, In fact, she might have been watching from the closet.
Oh
The
no!
motive behind Hera's request is never elaborated on, but it appears as though the king of Deep Nest was dead at this point. Hera was a common bug, so perhaps she desired the
Yeah,
Pale
but like, what
King's
is the
pale
kid then?
seed so
Where
that her
is she?
child
Or
could be
he?
of high birth. The bargain between Hera and the Pale King resulted in the birth of Hornet. She
Oh!
became known as the gendered child, because unlike the Pale King's other children, Hornet was not hollowed out by the Abyss. Hera and Hornet spent little time together, as Hera had to make good on
So
her
she's
end
my
of the bargain.
stepsister!
And so the three dreamers were put to rest. Through their actions, a seal was placed over the black egg, prohibiting entrance into the chamber. These dreamers also had their own protection. At the base of Lurian's spire, the Watcher Knights guarded access to their master's body. Motomon's body was protected by a giant jellyfish named Umu. On top of this, Motomon entrusted her servant Quirrell with a mask which would be required to break an additional seal she had placed over herself. So she basically is double wrapping herself. As for Hera, we're not really sure what protected her, since it is never actually seen in-game. We don't know where this creature is hiding, but whoever it is, they really suck at their job. Now there appears to be one more element to the Pale King's plan, involving the Weavers. Hidden away in the Weaver's den is an incomplete seal of binding, woven from silk. This design prominently
Step Hornet
features the
help him
Hollow Knight's
stuck in
head, and can
deepness.
be found in the White Palace, as well as blocking the exit during the Hollow Knight fight. Silk spools created by the Weavers can be found in the Stag Station in Deep Nest, as well as the Stag Station next to the White Palace. These spools can also be found in the Pale King's workshop. We know that the Weavers were closely tied to Hera and Hornet, so their actions might have been a part of the deal between the Pale King and Hera. Once the Hollow Knight was ready, the Radiance was somehow channeled into the vessel, which was then placed inside of a giant black egg located in the Forgotten Crossroads. This egg was built to sustain the Hollow Knight, and itself appears to be fashioned from void. The Hollow Knight was chained up, and the entrance to the black egg was locked behind a powerful seal created by the three dreamers. Initially, this convoluted plan actually worked, and the infection was successfully contained. Memorials to the Hollow Knight and the Dreamers were erected in the City of Tears and the Resting Grounds. But this is the part of the story where things get a little bit hazy. By the time these statues were constructed, citizens had taken to writing on parchment woven from spider silk, which was all destroyed when water started pouring down onto the city. We don't know how long the Hollow Knight was able to completely contain the infection. Bugs from Dirtmouth used to go to the Temple of the Black Egg to pray, saying they felt at peace within the walls. But after a while, they stopped going, perhaps indicating that the infection was beginning to leak out again.
Oh.
The infectious air continued to seep through Halnest for years, eventually even reaching the deepest parts of the kingdom.
Oh, but who is this dude then?
As it
He's also
turns
my
out,
brother.
The Pale
He's the
King's pure
same.
vessel wasn't quite so pure after all. The Hollow Knight had been tarnished by an idea instilled. While the game never explicitly tells us what that idea was, it does hint strongly at what it might be. Hidden away in the White Palace is a memory showing the Hollow Knight and the Pale King sharing a moment. The Hollow Knight might have developed a parental bond to the Pale King,
Aww.
and who could blame it? The Pale King is a pretty great dad after all.
Meh.
You know, if you ignore the infanticide and everything. Remember those smug mushroom dickheads? Well, it turns out their trust in the Pale King was a complete mistake. That shared mind isn't looking too good now, is it? In the fungal core, the corpse of a giant mushroom lies dormant. Its final thoughts were, "Pale worm, what good to see a demise unavoidable?" This could imply that the Pale King always knew that his kingdom was doomed. All he could do was delay the inevitable. This is likely the moment when Halnest, as it once was, entirely collapsed. The Hollow Knight had not completely stopped the infection, and while it may have taken a while, Halnest was eventually brought low. It's at this point that characters and areas begin to resemble as we know them in-game. When it became clear that the Hollow Knight was not able to contain the Radiance, the Pale King resorted to his final plan. He fucked off, hiding himself, his White Palace, and his Pale Court in the Dream World.
Huh.
At this point, all of the furniture in the palace was covered under white sheets, similar to how people in the real world cover their furniture while away on long trips. The palace was also completely covered with thorns and buzzsaws, similar to how people in the real world cover their houses with thorns and buzzsaws. The Pale King would eventually pass away while sitting on his throne in the White Palace. There's no confirmation on what killed him, but there are a few things to consider. The throne room is incredibly dark compared to the rest of the palace, and the particle effects and ambient track in this room are identical to that of the Abyss.
Okay.
All of the king's molds surrounding the Pale King are dead. The ancient basin itself also has become stained with the presence of void, as it can be seen as high as the rundown elevator shaft leading back to the city. Remember that bug that was sealed away in the Abyss to make sure the lighthouse wasn't turned off? Well, the lighthouse was turned off.
Yeah.
I guess that whole living with purpose thing is a crock of shit after all. It seems as though the Sea of Void itself actually convinced this bug to betray his king and turn off the lighthouse. Now I know what you're thinking. Exactly how conscious is the Void? Is the Void able to think for itself? Can it form strategies? Does it host a podcast? Well, according to this Chozo statue ripoff, the Void is powerful, but not unified. So while it can thrash around at things that come near it, or call out in unison to turn off a light, it's not a single conscious being. Getting back to the Pale King, one could argue that the Void might have played a role in his ultimate demise, and I've argued that viewpoint in the past, but we have to remember that there isn't enough evidence to know for sure. As an expert lawyer and a good friend of mine, Johnny Cochran, once said, "Any evidence that the Void was involved in the Pale King's death is circumstantial. My name is Johnny Cochran." Just above the White Palace, the bugs in the City of Tears weren't faring much better. Even if we ignore the fact that the infection was still around, there were other issues that helped lead to the city's downfall. Due to the gates being sealed, some bugs resorted to cannibalism in order to avoid starvation. And there's also that metric fuckton of corpses lining the walls of the Soul Sanctum. When all was said and done, the only citizen left standing is Eternal Emelita, who just laughs her ass off about it like she's a fucking character. The White Lady ends up in a cocoon deep within the Queen's gardens. She decided to place bindings on herself in order to keep her from spreading her seed. She claims that this is because of the shame she feels in helping the Pale King create the vessels, but honestly, it's probably just her kink. The White Lady also diminished her power, possibly as a way to keep herself hidden from unwanted visitors. Outside her cocoon, Drya stood guard, protecting her queen from the violent traitor mantises. Drya is eventually killed off by these bugs, which is actually pretty pathetic if you think about it. I mean, we're talking like the Netgear WPN824N N150 wireless router pathetic. Speaking of great knights dying pathetically, let's move on to Hagemul. Hagemul held the city crest, a key used to open one of the gates to the City of Tears. At some point, Hagemul's armor shell was stolen by a maggot. Now, maggots were generally looked down upon and forced to do menial labor. They were incredibly weak, and basically deserved all of the discrimination they got. But this one maggot decided to turn the tide, so he stole Hagemul's shell so that he could defend his downtrodden brothers. His actions weren't motivated by the infection, but instead was the result of how hierarchical caste systems will always lead to revolution from the working class, and that true freedom can only be achieved blah blah blah, capitalism is bad, subscribe to my Patreon. Ogrim moved to the Royal Waterways and started living in shit, changing his name to Dung Defender. Now I love wallowing in shit as much as the next guy, but you'd have to really love shit to put up with living with the flukes. The Dung Defender kept an unwavering sense of duty and loyalty to the king, and love for his fellow knights, so much so that he made shit statues of them. How nice. Ogrim acted as the defender of the Pipeways, as well as Isma's Grove. A section of the Royal Waterways became filled with acid, and in the middle of it all rests Isma's corpse, which has been overcome by plant life. Isma is likely the one responsible for this acid blight, but we have no idea what happened to her. Hornet's whereabouts during this time are fairly mysterious. We know that she departed Deep Nest and didn't return until the events of the game. At some point, she took to guarding Halnest from intruding warriors, as well as the cast-off shell in the Kingdom's Edge. Despite the Kingdom's woes at large, fortunately this fate did not befall one of the fandom's favorite characters. The Menderbugs continued to fix the broken signs and gateposts of Halnest. From a diary entry, we can see that one Menderbug in particular had found himself on the precipice of a long and loving relationship.
Hello again, diary.
I'm here. Don't worry.
Not long now until the next Minder Bash. For a stealthy types, we're a riotous bunch when we get together. And Minderberry kept flashing me that smile. It might be time to muster my courage and act on it. I love my home and my life, but sharing it with another? Why, that'd be the berry on top.
Greenpath also underwent some changes during this time. The Mosskin were waiting for Un's call, which would bring them back into the dream they were originally born from. But for some reason, Un's strength deteriorated. We don't know why this happened exactly. Was it due to the White Lady claiming part of her kingdom? Was it somehow due to the infection? Some Mosskin believe that Un went into hiding, but it appears as though Un is, in fact, calling to her children.
I'm back now.
But many of the Mosskin are unable to hear her call. Instead, many Mosskin seem to have taken the Radiance's infection into their leaves, which might explain why Greenpath became overgrown with vegetation despite Un's deteriorating powers. Mossy vagabonds even openly chose to forsake Un and worship the Radiance. Another tribe to be screwed over by the Radiance is the Hive, which fell to the infection after the death of their leader, Hive Queen Vespa. But it appears as though this had little effect on their civilization. The Radiance's hive mind was already familiar to the bees, since the hive probably operated under something similar already. So in other words, the hive probably made out the best in this whole situation. Let's turn our attention back to the moths. After all, it's their god that keeps killing everybody. Well, the moth tribe didn't fare too well actually, as pretty much the entire tribe died out. The only known survivor is the seer. Despite the loss of her tribe, the seer continued to tend to the graves in the resting grounds, while also waiting the arrival of the wielder, a mysterious being that her tribe has dreamt of for a while. In the Kingdom's Edge, the land became covered in ash molting off of the worm's decomposing corpse. The Coliseum of Fools continued to thrive. The Lord Fool passed away at some point, but nobody really seems to notice or even care. The fools inside the Colosseum were infected, but still seem to have maintained control over themselves. It seems possible that these bugs took in the infection willingly, similar to the Traitor Lord and his followers. This would have given them an edge in combat, similar to using steroids, but without the whole shrinking testicles thing. However, even the Traitor Lord and his followers went mad, so what makes these fools any more special? As for the Pale King's champion, the Pale Lurker, well, she just went the normal kind of insane. There appears to have been another unforeseen event with the Pale King's plan. When the Hollow Knight was originally chosen, the door to the Abyss was sealed, trapping the discarded vessels within. But apparently, some vessels didn't get the memo. Vessel corpses can be found littered throughout the kingdom. There's one in the Ancient Basin, one in Greenpath, and several trapped in Nosk's lair in Deep Nest. Another vessel that escaped from the Abyss is the player character, the Knight.
Hi.
The exact details on how the vessels escaped the Abyss is unclear. There are indications that they might have slipped into Deep Nest through some old passageway, given void influences in part of the area, and all the corpses found in Nosk's lair. At some point, all entrances to Hollow Nest were closed off, with the old well-endured mouth being the only way to sneak back in. Despite this, several people have wormed their way into the kingdom, with few ever returning. Characters like Relic Seeker Lem seem content to just pillage artifacts from the ruined kingdom, but other bugs seemed interested in something greater. In the Howling Cliffs rests the corpse of a member of the Grim Troop.
Monday. Thanks
The task of this bug appears to have been to seek out Hollow Nest, so that the troop might be summoned to the kingdom in the future. The Grim Troop are basically a group of bugs that serve a higher being known as the Nightmare Heart. The troop keeps the heart alive by feeding on the nightmares of fallen kingdoms. This process also involves sacrificing the troop master to his own child because, hey, look at this cool ass boss battle. Another important group that traveled to Hollow Nest
I don't even
are
want
the
to try
God
this boss
Seekers.
again, it's so hard.
After being abandoned by their old gods, the gods of thunder and the gods of rain, these bugs left their home in the land of storms, seeking out a new god to worship. The God Seekers looked to gods to save them from their own silent mind. While traveling through the wastelands, the God Seekers constructed devices called God Tuners, which helped them seek out new gods. Through this device, they were able to detect the lingering power of the Pale King and find their way to Hollow Nest.
Oh.
When they arrived, however, the God Seeker was forced into hibernation. She was encased in a strange sarcophagus-like cocoon, which was itself chained up with a lock. It's not clear how this forced hibernation worked, seeing as the cocoon appears to have been made by the God Seeker herself. As for who put the cocoon in chains, I think the most likely candidate is the Dung Defender, considering how the God Seeker's cocoon is found in the junk pit in the Waterways, an area the Dung Defender has tasked himself with protecting. This was the general picture of Hallownest after the Hollow Knight was sealed inside the Temple of the Black Egg. The kingdom was stuck in a kind of stasis, with the Pale King civilization destroyed and the Radiance unable to break free from her chains. The Pale King was rebelling against nature, trying to keep his work standing indefinitely. The stasis over Hallownest held for an age. How long is that exactly? Well, we have no idea. As I'm sure you've noticed, there really isn't a timeline for anything that happens in this game. We also have no idea how long any of these bugs can actually live. Elderbug wasn't around to see the Stagways open, but we know several other characters were, implying that Elderbug is probably one of the youngest characters in the whole game. But this stasis over Hallownest wasn't going to last forever. At some point, the Radiance erupted out of the Hollow Knight, cracking its shell and releasing a loud and powerful roar. The amount of infection leaking out of the Hollow Knight became even greater. The many corpses that lined the roads and cities of the kingdom sprang to life with the amplified power of the infection. This strengthened infection prompted the departure of the Weavers back to their old home. Now this old home might actually be Farloom, the kingdom in which Hollow Knight Silksong takes place. But the amount of knowledge we have about Silksong right now is pathetic, so I'm not saying that's confirmed or anything. This is also around the time that Quirrell arrives back in Hallownest. His memory of Motomon appears to have been clouded due to his time outside of Hallownest. These events are depicted in the Quirrell prequel comic, which also shows an image of the Hollow Knight with a pre-cracked shell. This could mean that Quirrell's arrival happens roughly the same time the Hollow Knight's shell cracks. At around the same time Quirrell arrives in Hallownest, we also see the arrival of the player character, who is commonly referred to as the Knight. The Knight was one of the lucky vessels that was able to make its way out of the abyss. Somehow the Knight ended up venturing beyond Hallownest and into the wilds beyond. It's implied that the Knight was called to Hallownest by either the sealed Hollow Knight or the Radiance within. Regardless, once the Knight shows up and yeets itself off this glyph, the actual game of Hollow Knight finally begins.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of details we could get into. Hallownest is full of NPCs and bosses, each with their own stories to tell. But to be honest, I don't think we need to go through all of them, since their stories are relatively straightforward. For example, let's look at the Brooding Malik. So why is the Brooding Malik brooding? Because all its friends are dead. And there you go, that's the lore for the Brooding Malik. Also, it's the only character in the game with a visible asshole.
Oh my god.
Now, did you really need me to explain that to you? Probably not. So instead, I'm just going to talk about the interactions relating to Hollow Knight's main story. The Knight is eventually noticed by Hornet, who lures it deep into Greenpath. There, Hornet attempts to kill the Knight, claiming that she knows what it would try to do. At this point, Hornet views the Knight as being too weak. After the fight, Hornet can be found in the City of Tears, next to the statue of the Hollow Knight. Hornet mentions that the Knight has gained a resilience, due to the time it spent in the void beyond Hallownest. This could be referring to the fact that some of those who leave Hallownest lose their memories, meaning the Knight would have no memories of its own tragic conception. Hornet tells the Knight that if it seeks to continue the stasis that keeps Hallownest standing, it must seek the Graven Ash, which is referring to the Kingdom's Edge. At this moment, Hornet sees the Knight as a possible replacement for the Hollow Knight. Basically, the Knight could break the seals that keep the Hollow Knight locked away, defeat the Hollow Knight, and contain the infection itself. It's at this point that I should mention that Hollow Knight actually has 5 different endings, because of course it would. I'm going to be explaining each of these endings in this video, as they each give us a different glimpse into the mechanics
we should
of
have just
Hollow Knight's
watched
world.
this right away then.
Now, to get the easiest ending to Hollow Knight, Hornet's instructions to go to the Kingdom's Edge can be ignored completely. If the Knight stumbles upon the resting grounds, the 3 dreamers will appear and cast the Knight into the Dream Realm. There, Seer will come to the Knight's rescue and grant it the Dream Nail, a special blade that can tear the veil between the real world and the dream world. With the Dream Nail, the Knight can venture to the resting places of the 3 dreamers, curb stomp their asses, and unlock the entrance to the Black Egg. Inside the egg, the Knight finds the Hollow Knight chained up, silently watching over it. Once the chains are broken, the Hollow Knight screams with that familiar Radiance roar and pursues the Knight.
Poll if I roll my
As the
blunt
fight
today or
progresses, the
tomorrow?
Hollow Knight starts trying to kill itself, Quirrell style. But then the Radiance starts using the Hollow Knight's body to perform her own attacks. Once defeated, the Hollow Knight begins to spew infection all over the place. The Knight can then focus the infection into itself. This results in the first ending of the game, called Hollow Knight. In this ending, the Knight usurps the Hollow Knight, prolonging the stasis over Hallownest. New chains and bindings appear out of fuck if I know, and contain the night, and a new seal is placed over the entrance to the Black Egg. Now there is one giant question looming over this ending.
So that's it,
Can the
really?
night actually contain the infection indefinitely, or will the Radiance still manage to break free one day? Before we answer this question, let's look at some of the other events that can transpire while playing the game. If the player chooses to go to Kingdom's Edge, Hornet will challenge the Knight one last time as a final test of strength. After her defeat, Hornet allows the Knight to access the cast-off shell, where the Pale King was originally hatched. By interacting with this egg, the Knight's shell is marked with the King's brand, technically making the Knight the new ruler of Hallownest. With the King's brand, the Knight can now open the entrance to the Abyss and discover the place of its birth. When leaving the Abyss, the Knight can encounter Hornet again, where for the first time, Hornet suggests that there are actually two outcomes the Knight can enact. She tells the Knight that it can either prolong Hallownest stasis, or face the heart of the Kingdom's infection. Within the Knight, Hornet sees a chance for change.
Yeah,
Instead
so
of
the
just
best is
replacing
to
the Hollow
kills
Knight,
the Radiance.
Hornet believes that it may be possible to get rid of the infection completely by using the void inside of the Knight. After visiting the Abyss and obtaining the Shade Cloak, the Knight is capable of reaching the White Lady, hidden away in the Queen's Gardens. The White Lady tells the Knight that she has been awaiting a vessel to accept a gift, that gift being one half of a charm called the King's Soul, which she claims will give the Knight more power. The White Lady goes on to explain that she can feel the weakening of the Hollow Knight within her roots. She tells the Knight that it is free of the blemishes that made the Hollow Knight a flawed vessel. From this dialogue, it is implied that the Knight truly is a pure vessel, capable of containing the Radiance successfully. But it's not quite that simple, so we're gonna have to dig a bit deeper into this. Basically, we're gonna need to answer a simple question. What exactly does it mean to be a Hollow Knight? Despite the White Lady's words, we have a number of instances where the characters and item descriptions mention that the Knight has a will, and maybe even a mind. But from the Pale King's dialogue when describing the Hollow Knight, it is stated that a pure vessel has no mind or will. So is the White Lady wrong? Or maybe even lying? Her eyes have been clouded by time, and she can be tricked into thinking that Ogrim is in the room when the Knight is wearing the Defender's Crest charm. She also thinks that Drya is still alive, which, so maybe the White Lady is just senile. My problem with that theory is that the White Lady states that the vessels stand out to her clearly in a misted world, due to them being her spawn. She also questions whether or not the Knight sought her aid, which would imply that the Knight must have some kind of will. So for whatever reason, the White Lady thinks the Knight is still capable of containing the Radiance, even if it's still able to make decisions. After all, the Hollow Knight was considered pure, but they still taught it how to wield a fucking sword. I mean, if the Knight were truly and completely hollow in a literal sense, it probably shouldn't even be able to walk, or draw a map, or open a goddamn bank account. In short, this whole concept of being hollow is so abstract and hard to define. I don't really feel comfortable giving a solid answer on whether or not the Knight is or isn't truly hollow, and I think the game leaves room open for other interpretations. Of course, the White Lady's gift is useless without the other half of the
Boss,
King's
it has
Soul.
been 5
In order
months
to reach it,
since I've
however,
started
the
to
Knight
work
must
for
travel
you.
to the
Can I
White
get a
Palace,
raise?
locked inside
Why
the body of a
people
King's
happy?
Bold. In order to
Hi,
bypass
thank
the
you very much
seal,
for the 5
the Knight must use a
months.
fully awakened dream nail. It can do this by bringing 1800 essence to the seer, allowing her to sharpen the weapon's blade. If the Knight does this, the seer remarks that the Knight truly is the wielder that her tribe has been dreaming of. There's no explicit reason why the Moth tribe was dreaming about this supposed wielder so much, but it seems like they believe the wielder would wash away the crimes the Moth tribe committed by turning their backs on the Radiance. The seer seems to know that the Knight might kill the Radiance, and she seems accepting of it, ready for her and her tribe to disappear and be forgotten forever. With the awoken dream nail in hand, the Knight can travel to the Pale King's refuge and locate the other half of the King's Soul charm. When equipped, the King's Soul provides a never-ending supply of soul, making it almost useful if it weren't for the insanely high cost of the charm, and the painfully slow rate at which it increases, and the fact that the charm will get replaced in about 5 minutes after you get it. The King's Soul charm itself symbolizes the union between two higher beings. To me, this implies that the King's Soul is a representation of a vessel, which also was created by the union of two higher beings. With the King Soul in their inventory, the knight now gains access to an area in the Abyss called the Birthplace. In this massive pile of vessel shells, the knight can find a giant egg. Dream nailing the egg allows the knight to access its own memory when it was cast down into the Abyss. From viewing that memory, the King Soul charm is replaced with the Void Heart charm. The recollection of this event allows the knight to come to terms with the void inside itself. Once the knight has the Void Heart, the shades in the Abyss no longer attack it, and that strange creature that gives the knight the Shade Cloak calls it the Lord of Shades. In other words, the knight has now bound the once fragmented void under its own will, allowing it to control the void in a powerful new way. With the union of the void, the Pale King, and the White Lady, the knight has gained a strength before unseen. It is with this charm that 2 additional endings become unlocked. Hornet will now be standing outside of the Black Egg, offering to help the knight should the opportunity arrive. Midway through the fight with the Hollow Knight, Hornet rushes into battle, subduing the Hollow Knight and piercing its shell.
She came and saved me!
It's at this point that the knight is given the perfect opportunity to enter into the mind of its sibling, fighting the source of the infection head-on, and finally putting an end to the Radiance's tyranny.
Hornet is so badass, man.
Or it can just stand there and let Hornet get knocked unconscious. If the knight finishes off the Hollow Knight as usual, the sealed sibling
Okay,
ending
so if you
occurs.
don't actually succeed, she
Basically,
dies
it's
and you
the
get this
same as the
ending.
Hollow
But
Knight
if you
ending.
go and
But now
help, then
Hornet
she
is
won't
in the room
die.
too, and her face appears on the door of the Black Egg. It's not clear what exactly this means for Hallownest. This might imply that Hornet is now a dreamer.
Yeah, I
but
think she
she's
became a
inside
dreamer.
the temple, meaning that no one can actually get in there to kill her should the knight ever start leaking infection. At the same time, Hornet mentions that the bindings of the Black Egg would drain her, so she's probably just going to die anyway, right? Generally, people consider this to be one of the worst endings, but it's worth pointing out that Team Cherry doesn't support any one ending as being the true ending.
Okay.
Each ending is canonical in its own right, and honestly, this ending isn't the worst. At least the Knight and Hornet will get to spend some
It's just
quality
very
time
sad and
together.
tragic.
If the Knight does dream nail the Hollow Knight, it will be taken to an arena where it can finally fight the Radiance head-on. But the Knight isn't alone, as the other shades from the Abyss will appear in order to help corner the Radiance.
Oh, that's
Eventually,
so
the
cool.
Radiance
Even
gets
your
trapped in
brother
the tendrils of the
helping you.
Void. The Knight bitch slaps her a couple times, and then the Radiance is consumed
Bitch
into
slap.
the darkness. The Black Egg then appears to turn to shadows, and the Void seeps down into the ground. Hornet awakens to find the Knight's broken shell lying on the floor. We get one final shot of the shades in the Abyss going to rest, and the game is over. This ending is called the Dream No More ending. The Radiance is gone, and Hallownest is finally free from her infection.
I think, yeah, it's the best ending too now.
Now I think it's fair to ask a few questions about how the Dream No More ending comes about. When the Hollow Knight was initially chosen to become the pure vessel, the Abyss was sealed up, and the rest of the vessels were left to rot away. But somehow, vessels ended up outside of the Abyss, and then one of those vessels was used to replace the Hollow Knight. Exactly how much of this operation was planned, if at all? The White Lady was waiting for a vessel. Did she have any communication with Hornet? Hornet was guarding the King's Brand, the only way for a vessel to enter the Abyss. How did she know it was necessary to guard the King's Brand from weaker vessels?
I guess we knew
Hell,
in 6
if
songs
the
and...
vessels did escape the Abyss by themselves, wouldn't it be pointless to guard the King's Brand, since the vessels could just creep back into the Abyss the same way? I'm not going to provide any good answers to these questions, because God forbid I answer anything in this entire video. But I do want to point out that no plans to actually produce the Dream No More ending are explicitly stated in-game. So we can only speculate as to whether or not the White Lady or Hornet, or maybe even the Pale King, knew that they could defeat the Radiance by creating a Lord of Shades, like the Knight. Regardless, the next 2 endings were definitely not planned. In fact, the last 2 endings that were added in the Godmaster update almost feel out of place. The Godseekers basically hijack everything to the point where you don't even have to enter the Temple of the Black Egg to beat the game. That's like beating Mario Bros without ever seeing Bowser. But on the other hand, the Godmaster endings basically reinforce that Hallownest does not exist in a vacuum, which can help the world of Hollow Knight feel more real, because what else is reality but just a bunch of random chaotic stuff happening all the time? If the Knight finds the Godseeker in the Junk Pit, it will be able to enter her mind and refight all the bosses in the game. This is part of the Godseeker's ritual. They basically attune to the resonance of gods through ritual combat. This allows them to ascend their minds
brain
higher,
time.
and eventually, through the use of godly focus, achieve communication with the god sleeping in Hallownest's heart, the Radiance. Now I know what you're thinking. That's a pretty convoluted little religious practice they have going on here. What's
Thank you,
next? Are they going to start
Holiday,
measuring
Jerry.
the Knight's Theon levels? It's pretty complicated,
Scar
but the
7,
point is,
1-4.
these Godseekers have some serious capabilities to fuck things up in Hallownest, as we're about to see. As the Knight makes it further and further through the 4 Pantheons, the Godseekers get closer and closer to making contact with the Radiance, locked away inside the Hollow Knight. At the end of the 4th Pantheon, the Radiance makes herself aware in this strange reunion cutscene between the vessels. But she isn't the only one to make an appearance. The Void itself appears to go on the attack, rising up to meet the Radiance's call. It's at this point that the final challenge, the Pantheon of Hallownest, becomes available. The Godseeker finally acknowledges the Knight as being more than just a simple cringer, and they begin to watch the Knight more intently. After defeating like a bazillion bosses in the final Pantheon, the Knight finally comes face to face with the Absolute Radiance, a stronger, more enhanced version of the game's final boss. Finally, the stage is set. After roughly 40 minutes of intense agony and tedious boss battles, the Knight has finally reached the ultimate enemy responsible for the destruction of Hallownest. Truly, this will be a battle for the ages. But first, let's check in on my old pal Mennerbug. As it turns out, he's still alive when the Knight arrives in Hallownest, and he's still fulfilling his duty after all this time. Let's take one last look at his diary.
My lovely diary. Someone's gone and broke my favorite sign, right there at the top of the crossroads. Keeps happening too. But you know, I just can't get mad about it. I should be thanking them, really. More chances to fix that beautiful, complex sign. And I've stocked up on spare parts, so I've no fear.
Wait, it's Vadi who's making his own voice right now? Oh, that's so cool.
The
Why
only way to
people
ever
happy?
read the Mennerbug's diary is to kill him in cold blood. I'm not sure why Team Cherry thought this was necessary, but the general consensus on Reddit is that they are bloodthirsty warmongers, so it checks out. But at least Mennerbug's last moments will be spent fixing one of his favorite signs in the Forgotten Crossroads.
Cute.
It's comforting to think that his final seconds of consciousness were spent in total bliss, before we sent him hurtling into the infinite chasm that is Oblivion.
We are fucking
Well, anyways,
monster.
the alternate fight between the Knight and the Radiance plays out
Love
differently
this
than in
channel.
the vanilla ending. This time around, the Knight is not accompanied by any shades. Instead, after defeating the Radiance, the Knight seems to transform into this monstrosity.
Oh.
Now this creature goes by many names. The God of Gods, the Lord Shade, the Devourer, the Void Entity.
SNCF.
But I don't really like any of those.
Oh, wait, thank you
so
very
I
much
will
for the
just
sub.
call him Bill. Bill proceeds to completely annihilate the Radiance in spectacular fashion. We are then treated to the Embrace the Void ending. Bill comes back down from the sky, dropping into the rest of Godhome. The Godseeker starts to get pulled into Bill by Void tendrils. We then cut to the Godseeker in the junk pit. Void starts leaking out of her eyes, and it appears as though Bill is making an escape back into the real world, which is probably a bad thing? Finally, we see Hornet standing outside of the Black Egg as the infection begins to disappear from nearby vines. Hornet hears footsteps coming from inside the Black Egg as the Hollow Knight reveals itself to her and the two prepare for combat. So from this cutscene, we can see that the Radiance's death in Godhome actually did kill her for real, meaning that the infection over Hallownest is
Yeah,
now
but
gone.
now I'm the
This
monster.
means the seals inside of the Black Egg probably wore off, allowing the Hollow Knight to escape its prison. In other words, the Embrace the Void ending is a goddamn cliffhanger, and we have no idea how Team Cherry plans to follow this up. The Hollow Knight is running loose in Hallownest, and the Knight has transformed
Next
into
game.
a raging void monster that might try to destroy the entire kingdom, or at least what's left of it. What's even more strange about this ending is that the announced sequel, Hollow Knight Silksong, doesn't seem to be related to this ending at all, but that's a whole different shit show. Obviously, the biggest mystery surrounding this ending is the appearance of Bill. Did this
I
creature
would say
exist
next
in the void
year.
already?
Normally, like, you know,
Or was it
when they
somehow
announce a
willed
game,
into
it would be for the
existence
year
by
after.
power of the Godseekers? Did the Knight turn into this thing, or did it just become a part of it? Examining a statue of this creature and other forms of the Knight grant the player a Hunter's Journal entry for an ancient artifact called the Void Idol, which might imply this creature might have been worshipped by the ancient civilization. But again, that's pure speculation. We don't know what this worship of Void exactly looked like. Maybe the Void
Wow,
worshipped
they
took the
announced
form
it
of something
5 years
more
ago!
sinister. There is one thing we know about this monster, though.
Oh, it's like
weak
Half-Life
to
3.
flowers. Yes,
Right?
these things. As it
Silk
turns
Song
out,
is
those
as
delicate
much
flowers that
good
Samir has
as
stockpiled
Half-Life
up her
3.
ass are actually useful for something. They contain a strange power that even deters the White Lady from touching one. The Godseeker,
Okay, I
however,
was really
is
thinking it
dumb
would
enough
come
to
soon.
accept the flower from the night. If the player does this, instead of Void being released out into the world, this flower pulls a no you, and the Godseeker and Void disappear into thin air. The flower itself is described as giving off a pale light, which appears to connect it to the pale beings. Like I said before, pale beings appear to be some form of top-tier gods. As of right now, we are only aware of two, the Pale King and the White Lady, but the fact that Zamir brought these pale flowers from a faraway land implies that there are definitely more of them out there. Another small hint of the existence of pale beings are the pale ore items that can be found all over Hallownest. Did these come from the Pale King, or possibly some other pale being? And what exactly are they? Are they poop? In general, the Godmaster endings appear to be doing a lot of setup for future Hollow Knight content. Like I said before, Hollow Knight Silksong doesn't seem to connect to these events on the surface, so we are in a bit of a bind when trying to discuss what these endings actually mean for the greater narrative Team Cherry is building. There's definitely a lot more to consider about what the Pale Beings are and what properties they possess, and we also have plenty of questions surrounding the Void and how bugs have interacted with it in the past. It almost feels like we are looking through a keyhole, trying to grasp onto the totality of Team Cherry's creation. How powerful are creatures like Bill and the worms? Where did things like the Void even come from to begin with? How much bigger is the world beyond Hallownest? Is Bardoon into butt stuff? But of course, that's the appeal of a game like Hollow Knight. Having all of the answers to every question would just ruin the mystery of the world.
Yeah,
Plus,
it makes
if we didn't
sense.
have questions like this to waste our time on, then what else would we be doing with our lives? Go outside?
No!
And so this video comes to an end. Now I know the average attention span of a YouTube viewer is 9 minutes, so let me leave you with a few takeaways. 1. Hollow Knight is a game about bugs. I know this may come as a shock, but it's true. Watch the video again, and this time, pay attention. You'll notice right away, I promise. 2. Murdering your own babies might not be such a good idea after all.
No.
I mean, this is obviously
It
just
wasn't
my
even the first
interpretation
place.
of the game's lore. Other people might have different views on the subject of murdering babies, and every opinion is valid, so I don't want to step on anyone's toes or anything. 3. Menderbug is fucking dead. 4. Nothing is certain. This video probably has a few flaws in it. Trying to construct a cohesive narrative with the information found in Hollow Knight isn't exactly straightforward. I'm sure my views will change in the future, and I encourage you to explore the lore yourself. 5. And this last point is fairly obvious, but I should mention it anyway. Cory in the House is the best anime.
Wow, that was really interesting. I wasn't expecting like it would be that deep. I mean, it would make sense with everything. I saw the statue and everything, and the god, and each like character from each different biomes. But it was really interesting.
I'm your man.
God damn. Okay, so when is Silk Song? Haha. When? Okay, 1 sec. Silk Song. Announcement trailer 3 years ago. Rumor and release date 8 years ago. 8 days ago. Okay.
Yup, Silk Song exists, Saracopium.
Okay. Shh, everyone, shut up. I haven't seen the trailer before.
Copium song.
Oh, I'm being taken away. I mean, I think it's what it is, you know. You get
Saracopium.
Okay, New Kingdom. Cute noises. Shout! Oh, that's so cool. It was 3 years ago, so imagine, like, you know, maybe they made like shit even better. It's so pretty. It will happen, guys. Okay. Wait, I'm going to wait for the finish it. Okay. Listen to me. It's not because, like, you know, they announced it 3 years ago that it won't happen. Like just a look at the amount of work and detail they have put into all of this. Like, there's actual fucking budget all over here. Concept art, the characters and everything. Here, look. Like, it's clean AF. It's clean AF. For me, I would say they, you know, announce it like either next year or the year after, okay? But like, look. Why would you, like, you know, put all of this to waste, okay? Why? No. Trust me. Dude, they're like an indie team and shit. Like, no way. Yeah, oh, they want to work on it instead of talking about it. Cyberpunk also was a lesson to them. That's, yeah. Like, the thing is, like, there's so many companies that are like, hey, our games is coming up soon, and at the end it's just, you know, fucking bad, okay? Here, they're taking their time. It was 3 years ago, it's fine. It's not like, okay, I was joking about, like, Half-Life Alyx 3. Half-Life Alyx, just Half-Life 3, okay, not Alyx, what the fuck. Half-Life, it's been much more years. Here, it's only 3. I think it's fine. And Cyberpunk, how long it took? How long did it took to Cyberpunk to be released, huh? Even longer. Wait. Cyberpunk 2077,
No game was ever good when it got rushed. Have patience.
Announcement. Okay, here we go. Listen to me. The trailer of Cyberpunk 2077, the announcement was in 2013. 9 or 10 years, maybe 2012. 9 or even 10 years until the game got released. And I'm sure like Silksong have already much more content than, you know, Cyberpunk when they decided to talk about it and do a release. So don't worry too much, guys. And it still came out like shit. I do agree. No. I think I'm going to still, like, you know, believe it. It's going to be released next year. In 1 year or 2. Maximum 3. Okay? But I wouldn't think 3. 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. I would say 1 because 4 years is already quite a lot. There's a video that got released 8 days ago, and it's like, it talks about rumors, but I don't know. I'm just reading some comments, wait. Okay, let's watch quickly this video. I don't know if it's worth it, but you'll tell me.
Hollow Knight Silksong is the sequel to Hollow Knight that we've been waiting 4 years for. We've seen bits and pieces of the game since its announcement in 2019, but haven't had any hard details on when it's coming out. Originally planned as DLC, Silksong follows up the first game with a shift in perspective and an upward journey through the
Damn, the
kingdom of
quality
Farley.
of this video
We'll
is
learn more
fucking
about
trash.
the
I
dreary
hate the
world
sound.
through the eyes of Hornet, the new playable
You think it's-
character, and
oh,
get
it's
access to a
clickbait?
bunch of new tools to work our way to the top of the
No, they
kingdom.
do have like
Team
screenshots
Cherry
here.
has been tight-lipped about the game for the last few years, but
No?
that hasn't stopped fans from obsessing over every detail that's available. Hollow Knight introduced a rich world that people want to pick apart. Fans have been eagerly anticipating the arrival of Hollow Knight Silksong, the forthcoming sequel to Hollow Knight. The indie Souls-like Metroidvania title was one of the best games of 2017, selling 2.8 million copies in its first 2 years. Developer and publisher Team Cherry first announced its sequel and is deep into development. We asked Team Cherry co-director William Pellin for an update on the game's progress, and he said, "We're still working steadily on it, and we're all looking forward to sharing more about it once we get closer to release." A leak from NVIDIA GeForce Now, which has retroactively proven to have held fairly accurate information, put a February 2022 date on the game. While that seems unlikely without a recent announcement, and no acknowledgement from the developer, it might suggest that the game is close to release. Team Cherry hasn't announced an official release date. In a June 2019 blog post, the company said the game would only release when it's ready, and when it matches the quality and scale of the
Okay, like that's cool. Like they are actually talking about it. Why are you saying copium? Like the developer are saying that they are just working on it. Stop being sad. Believe in it a little more. Like it's not like the developer are just not talking about it, okay? They are saying we are working on Silksong. It's going to happen. Just let us finish. And you're like, oh, 2 years. It's because, you know, of people like you that's like bad games, you know? Remember Mass Effect Andromeda? Cyberpunk 2077? Don't fucking push the developers. It's the same as when you commission an artist. Don't push an artist, otherwise they will rush the work and it will be really bad. Don't pressure the developers. You're pushing them with this kind of like interaction online. You are. Thank you, Augusty, for the 1000 bits.
Art take times.
Like, wait, there's a tweet here. Or
The
something.
philosophy is that you should not announce a release date until you have a build that could be released, and then you're just giving yourself some time to fix additional bugs and market a game. However, Griffin later warned his followers not to take his quote out of context, since it doesn't actually confirm anything.
See?
Fans will have to wait and see if Silksong will come out in 2022 or beyond. In the past, Hollow Knight Silksong news has come from both the developer itself and E3. With E3 2022 in flux, it's likely we'll see news from Team Cherry when it's ready to share some.
Diana, thank you very much for the
Alternatively,
6
we
months.
could hear about the game at Jeff
Pod
Keighley's
6
Summer
months.
Games Fest
Let's
2022.
go, baby.
Nintendo Switch has been confirmed to be one of the many platforms Hollow Knight Silksong will eventually release on. If it follows the release pattern of the original Hollow
Not
Knight,
pushing,
it will likely
just
be
a
a
little
Nintendo
sad.
Switch console
Keeping the
exclusive for several
copium to
months
ourselves.
before reaching other
Copium
platforms.
den.
Right now,
Sarah
Hollow Knight
Copium.
Silksong is only officially confirmed to be coming to Nintendo
Like,
Switch
you know,
and PC.
the good
This will
way
likely
to
change
just, you
after
know, have a
release,
game
but
that
don't expect
releases
it to
much
be coming to-
faster is just by ignoring it. Just keep yourself busy and play at over games. So that's why I'm like, I don't really care, you know, when like Silksong get released, because I have like so many games I haven't done yet. This week, Cuphead and Dead Space. So, game features, gameplay. I don't really want to look at the gameplay from this video because it's just, you know, really bad quality. Let me just... Silksong gameplay.
Just wait until it's out. You know it exists. Just wait.
They even have like some gameplay. Like, why would you like, you know, show the
Always
game
learning. I mean,
and make
if it
people
seemed like she
try
was a
it
seasoned,
if you don't believe in its
pro
release?
in Hollow Knight. You guys haven't seen anything yet, so we are entering this first boss fight here against Moss Mother.
As someone interested in lore,
And I
I'm
have quite
fine
an
with
audience
waiting
in
if
the
they build
background.
another
Our kids are
amazing
coming to
world.
watch. Hi, Bob. You're good.
Honestly, we probably have a huge
So as you
backlog
are
anyway.
focused on the combat,
You're
we will
right,
let you
boss.
wail on this Moss Mother. I think
I would
Audrey,
already
we've
like
talked about
forget
this in
about
the
this
past,
part
but
of the
both of us
game
are
anyway.
really big fans of the classic side-scrolling Metroid style of gameplay. Yeah. And that's something that I think, for me, when I first played Hollow Knight, was the thing that really jumped out at me. Like, this is so true to that experience in terms of the progression, the backtracking, the deep exploration, this sense of mystery, but also just the ambiance. It's a spooky game.
It's so true. You can tell that the developers really love that genre, but they really made their own mark on it.
And with the art style, it's so
It's
interesting
really
as you're
pretty.
interacting with characters and bosses and enemies. And Team Cherry is packing, I think, over 150 new enemies.
I don't really want to watch more. Just the fact that I see someone playing at the game is kind of really promising, okay? So I'm not going to watch more than this. Yeah. No, that's enough for me. Alright. What do we do now? Since now we know the story and everything else from Hollow Knight, what can we do? I'm kind of really tired. I could just, sleep too. Or, I don't know, do something else. I don't know. I feel like I want to sleep, but I know I won't go to bed anyway. No, Cuphead is for tomorrow. I don't want people, some people won't come in my stream just because, I'm not playing the games they are expecting. So I don't want to play Cuphead when they are expecting me playing at it tomorrow. Solace! Holy shit, dude, thank you so much for the 100 sub gift! Dude, why? Thank you so much! I think I'm just going to sleep. I'm just so fucking tired. Yeah. I'm dead. I feel dead inside. Okay, wait. I did though, try to sleep much more today. Solace again, thank you so much, really. I really appreciate it, but right now I'm just fucking dead. Yeah, sorry about this. No more, I can't. Okay, I'm going to fucking, yeah, go, bed. But the thing is, if I go to bed now, what if I wake up at 3 AM? Alright, let me just write someone. Damn, there's almost no one online right now. Okay, let's see if there's any, maybe a small streamer we can...
Thank you for the stream, Saru. It was cool to watch you finish the game. Get some good rest.
Thank you very much, Akami. You know what? We can just, read up your DM. Since she's online. Let's go! Everyone jump in! Come! Oh, wait! The red doesn't work. Red your DM. The fuck? Oh, okay. It's just because I forgot another underscore. That's my bad. Here we go. Ah, that's working. Okay, everyone, jump in. She's playing, Elden Ring. If you want to watch, come in. She's really entertaining, and she's also a hardcore gamer. She always finishes, her games, just like me. So, jump in. And I'm sorry that today's stream is, really short. I wish I could have made it, longer, but I can't. It's news now. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Good night.